100 years ago, exactly in 1921, after a huge war, the world was in shambles. The only country that wasn't really hurt from this war was the USA, because it was really far from the battlegrounds and it didn't see any damage, and the economy was booming. And it started its journey to being a superpower. But you know the Europeans, they started another war. This war, meaning World War II, really caused the United States to be a superpower. Statistics show that Russia is nowhere near the US anymore, and the actual competitor to the United States is China. But this is not what the video is about today. The video is gonna be about, in 100 years, meaning in year 2121, which country is gonna be the global superpower. What does superpower even mean? What country can we call a superpower? A global superpower is defined like this: a country where its culture is seen everywhere, its economy affects the whole world, has power in politics, really high technology, and last but not least, it has to have a really strong military. This is a superpower. You guys already know the Cold War. The USSR and United States wanted to control the whole world and influence their style everywhere, and they called this the Cold War. Right now, the US doesn't really have a competitor because China and Russia, even though they can be a superpower, but they can't be stronger than the US. Russia has a strong military, but its economy struggles. And China is the opposite. It has a weaker military, but it has an extremely strong economy. The US has control pretty much everywhere around the world, but Russia only has control around Europe, and China only has control around Asia. The technology in China has improved a lot, and it's a competitor to the United States. But the innovation part is not that strong, because most of the tech is copying. Another power the United States has is that it makes the younger students from other countries come to the US and help the US economy. Even Russian and Chinese students would love to come to the US, and in reverse, no American goes to China or Russia. The stats shows every day Russia day by day goes down, but China day by day goes up. The world really shows that the superpower in 2121 is gonna be the country with the most tech, because everything is turning into robotics, and even military is gonna be robots. Right now, you could say the US is number one in tech, but we don't know what's gonna happen in 100 years. There's an idea that countries turn into superpower that have a lot of diversity. Like the United States, you could find any type of race in this country, and this helps it grow. But in China, it's 90% Chinese. And for example, China has 100,000 Americans living there, but the US has 2.5 million Chinese people living there. If China wants to be a global superpower, it has to do something to spread its culture all around the world, and China struggles with this. And because of the Communist Party, people don't really like the culture. China has to do something that the young people don't look towards the West and make other young people from other countries to like the Chinese lifestyle. In terms of politics, US has a lot of power around the world, but inside the country, it has its problems. Homelessness and poverty is a huge issue in the US right now, and it raises every year. Stats from NPR or National Public Radio says homelessness and poverty rises by 2% every year. And there are more than 580,000 homeless people in the US. The US has its own problem to stay a superpower, and poverty and homelessness is the number one issue. Another issue China has to being a superpower is its population, but this is an issue that China is solving, and the rules and regulations that the Chinese government has set is helping this issue. And the Chinese population in 2121 is gonna go from 1.4 billion to 300 to 400 million people. So it's gonna decline pretty hard. So in this 100 years, China is gonna lose 1 billion people, and that includes people that are being born. Another huge issue that China has right now that is still gonna be an issue in 100 years is because of a 1970s law that you can only have one child, and it made Chinese people not want girls, and unfortunately they aborted them. Right now, for every 114 Chinese man, there are 100 women, and this difference is ginormous. Like right now in the US, for every 98 men, there are 100 women, and the US stats is pretty normal across the world. China has another issue in line to be a superpower, and that's the Chinese language. The language is extremely hard, and not a lot of people want to learn it. China has to compete with the English language, which is nearly impossible. There's also another country that could be a superpower, but there are a lot of problems in its way: India. India has a lot of issues. First of all, poverty. Second of all, population. Low quality of life. In 2121, India is going to be the most populated country in the world, but that population is going to be less than today. The United States says that in the year 2050, the Indian population is going to be 1.6 billion, but after that, it's going to start declining. It's going to get less and less, and in 100 years, it's going to get to 1.1 billion people. Experts say that you can see a power of a country just by looking at its map. Where a country is located is a lot more important than a military. When you look at different countries, you can tell just because where this country is located, it's a powerful country. And there are other countries that when you look at, you can see how weak they are just because of where they're located. Exactly like Poland, where throughout history, it got invaded by each direction. When you look at the US map, you can tell that this is a superpower map. It has a lot of power outside this. It has 2 oceans on each side, and this brings the threat levels a lot lower. Politics around the world, which the US has the most power in. Diversity in its population, which the US is number 1 as well. And its culture is everywhere because of Hollywood, music, YouTube, and technology is found everywhere in the world. So these statistics show that in 2121, the US is still gonna be the superpower. Please comment, which country do you think is gonna be the superpower in 100 years?